Welcome. This is episode 1 of Fridhgard TV. It's new moon, starting Easter month of year 3 in the age of Ansua. I'm Dan Ralph Miller, the first frayer of the Fridhgard Fellowship Society. We're in British Columbia on Canada's southwest coast, serving the Gulf Islands, Vancouver Island, and the Lower Mainland. The fellowship is dedicated to the contemporary revival of the original culture of the Nordic and Germanic tribes indigenous to Northwest Europe. We'll be taking a look at the migrations of the Germanic tribes over historical periods in a later episode, and there are quite a few good videos on the subject available on YouTube already. But to sum up conventional wisdom, which is always a dangerous undertaking, the Germanic and Nordic tribes are the native speakers of any of the languages of the Germanic language family, including Icelandic, Norwegian, Faroese, Swedish, Danish, Dutch, German, Frisian, Flemish, English, and others such as Afrikaners. The Germanic languages are themselves a branch of the Indo-European language tree, whose roots trace back to the Caucasus Mountain region or thereabouts, and whose branches spread from India to Ireland, from North Africa to Siberia. The trigger of the Indo-European migrations was most likely the domestication of horses in the 4th millennium BC, beginning the first of numerous movements of people, horses, and cattle into the 4 directions. Germanic cultures, as such, first appear in Northwest Europe sometime in the 1st millennium BCE in the Baltic region. Now, by the end of the 1st millennium AD, the Germanic or Nordic tribes had migrated into every corner of Europe, east to settle on the Volga River in what is now Russia and beyond, south into Italy and Spain, west into what is now France and the British Isles, the Orkneys, and well beyond settling Iceland, Greenland, and North America. Now, over the next millennium, starting about the 5th century, the Germanic tribes were slowly and painfully converted to Christianity. We'll revisit the conversion of the Germanic tribes to Christianity in future episodes, but suffice it to say, for now, that it was not the love-in that we've been led to believe. The conversion was a brutal and violent process, which, even when the last heathen king in Lithuania finally relented in the 13th century, was only ever partially successful. Quite a number of folk customs survive to us from pagan times. Identifying, recording, celebrating, and preserving these surviving customs is chief among the goals of the Fridhgard Fellowship Society. The fellowship is also engaged in an ongoing review of Nordic and Germanic studies in general, and is undertaking original research based on literary, archaeological, linguistic, anthropological, and other evidence, all towards the revival of the old ways. Now, over the years, hundreds of people have asked me simply, why? Why would we possibly want to revive an ancient culture long since consigned to the history books? The ancient Nordic tribes, they tell me, were a bunch of bloodthirsty barbarians, primitive brutes, practical cavemen. Well, the picture we've been left by popular history, that of violent Viking hordes wreaking havoc upon medieval Europe, is highly distorted and one-sided. Our history of those times was left to us by the Christian Church, who naturally did not dwell upon the atrocities they themselves committed against the ever-dwindling pagan tribes of Europe. Well, far from barbaric, we find in our ancestral culture an advanced tribal culture with exquisite skills in wood and metal and stonework, outstanding nautical knowledge, a complex calendar system, and a legal system which in part survives to this day. Now we, and a growing number of others, have discovered that the ancient wisdom of our ancestral culture is truly timeless. Far from anachronistic, the revival and the rediscovery of the old ways directly addresses all of the pitfalls of this modern industrial culture. Now, for all its benefits, Western consumer culture has nevertheless left many of us unhappy and unfulfilled, unhealthy and ailing, surrounded by luxuries we scarcely need, paid for with the destruction of indigenous cultures around the world, the loss of biodiversity and the extinction of countless species, leaving a legacy of toxins, many of which will endure for millennia, poverty and human suffering, and so on, that's beyond imagination. Now, one has to ask, how could it be that we could possibly have gotten ourselves into this situation in the first place? Well, the answer to that question is complex, but it is understandable. A big part of the problem is that we have lost touch with our roots. We've lost touch with our connection to the natural world and with the wisdom of our ancestors. But a more pressing concern, however, is the answer to the question, what can we do to make it right? And while we can all benefit by buying an electric vehicle, recycling, reducing waste, minimizing the impact of our business activities, and so forth, just for some examples, of even more importance is to effect a change of mind, a change in our view of the world. What we are missing in this modern consumer culture is the ancient wisdom of the indigenous culture of our ancestors. The rediscovery of our ancestral wisdom will help to clarify our minds, help to heal our spirits, and restore health to our bodies, our families, and our world. The Fridhgard Fellowship Society was formed to assist in that healing process through the promotion of traditional values and concepts of right living and right action. The fellowship will facilitate the healing and the spiritual support and development of Nordic peoples, tribes, families, and individuals down through the chain of generations. We believe that one part of our healing process lies in reviving the ancient holy days and their important community celebrations. According to lore, one of the gifts of the gods was our sacred calendar. So after the break, we'll explore the traditional lunar calendar used by the fellowship to mark the holy days and the holy hours sacred to us and our ancestors. We'll be right back.